Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3. As you can see, we've made some progress. So we have our output transformer mounted, we have our power transformer mounted, we have the bracket mounted for our capacitor, and we have our tubes sockets mounted for our 12AX7s. These are the tube shields, obviously. And there you go. And these are the larger shields so they can hold the tubes correctly. And no problem with clearance on the speaker. We're good to go. And one thing I had to do here is I had to use a lower profile head screw. The tube base on the 6550 is a little bit, I'd say, narrow. So let's flip this over and see what we have on the other side. This sucker's heavy, guys. Wow. So taking a look underneath. Actually, I'm going to stop this for a minute because I need to just check something. Be right back. Okay, we're back. My battery was getting kind of low and I didn't want that to die in the middle of this. So taking a look at the underside of the chassis, you'll see right here, this is our output transformer. And we have our screws mounted here. And on nothing here, just screwed down. On this first 12AX7, you'll see I have a pair of terminal strips. I have one over here on the 6550, and I have another pair here on this 12AX7. So we're creating like a little pathway. Now, when you look at this side of the amp, this is our power transformer, and you'll see that I've got my 5-volt winding twisted, but we're not using it in this amp, so that's actually going to get wrapped up with some heat shrink. Here's our 6.3 volt right here, which is going to be run right along here to the first tube, which is the 6550. It's going to go to pins 2 and 7, which are right here mounted close to the top. So this thing will stay nice down here, very, very close to the chassis, like that. That's what she's going to look like. And then we're going to take a wire, we're going to run it here. I'm probably going to put another terminal strip here, just to make sure I maintain the shape. Or I'll use solid core wire and just bend it neatly. And I'm going to come down here and go over here to pins 4, 5, and 9, and then home run it right over to here, and then we're going to have our filament line all done. Okay? On this side, we're going to mount our choke, and our choke is going to go underneath here. And I'll show you approximately what that looks like. Move that out of the way. And our choke is going to go somewhere around here, like that. Okay? It all depends. I'm going to be careful because on this side of the chassis is where my pots are going to go through. So we definitely don't want a pot coming in here. So we're going to have to be really careful about where we place the pots. But this is going to go right around here somewhere in our power section. And that's going to leave this entire area to be signal. Okay? One other thing I want to show you is I've mounted a terminal strip here between the two lugs of the power transformer, and I'm going to use a star ground on this thing. So all ground connections are going to go back to here. We're not going to go into a ground over here, and it's going to take a long path to get back here. We're going to do everything direct home run to the star ground. So this is going to be the ground point, and this works out well because my all of the connections that come out of this side, the high power side, will certainly need to go to a ground in our capacitor, and we can use this as our reference point. So we're going to use solid wire and run grounds to this terminal strip as necessary. That's going to be the plan. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wire up the power section. So I need to, in order to do that, I obviously over here in the back need to drill another hole for a fuse and for a power cord, and it's going to be right in this area here because this is my power section. So we're going to put a fuse, a power cord, and an on-off switch. And you'll notice I said on-off switch. I got some feedback during my last video that from Brendan that, hey Ron, you don't want to put your volume pot over here with your on-off switch because then you're bringing your signal into the power section. Makes a lot of sense. So our volume pot will end up back over here somewhere, probably in this area. Right around here, between these two lines, that's where all 3 pots are going to be. When I say 3, I mean treble, bass, and volume, right here, in this area. In the back, we're going to put our intensity and our speed controls, which will be somewhere around here in this area. And we're going to do that purposely so that we stay away from this power section. Okay? So again, major controls here. They do connect directly to those 12AX7, so that's perfect. And then this will be the tube that we use for our vibrato, which will come back here. All solid wire connections. That's good. So we have a good sound plan. And the next step for me is going to be to get this power section working, and then we're gonna dig in and see if we can get the filaments to light up, and make sure that we've got all that good. If you remember the design for our high power section, the center tap actually gets fused to the chassis to ground, and it's going to get fused right here to one of these tabs after I connect all these to ground, and that's going to be this red and yellow wire right here. It's going to get fused and then connected right here somewhere to ground. That's going to be the plan there. And then our cap will end up going in here like that. And I love the way this cap looks. So let's take the wires out of here and I can show you. It's going to work out really well. It goes in just like that. And that's going to be a really easy way to make a connection here. And I do have another terminal strip mounted back here if I need it. So we're on our way. So what's next? Next step is take this chassis, install it in the cabinet, mark the holes where I'm going to have the volume, tone, and tone controls on the front of the cabinet, drill straight through the chassis, and then mount my pots in here. Pots are going to be connected each with a piece of hookup wire across the ground like that. And we'll bring that ground around here to our star ground. All right, that's the plan. We're also going to mount our output jack over here somewhere for an external speaker. And our input jack ends up being right here on this side. So that all works out well. Everything's close in proximity to where it needs to be. So next thing we're going to do is drill these holes out on the cabinet and go to town. I know some of you had some concerns about drilling through that box. Listen, I get it, guys, right? It's aesthetics and we want it to look old, but this is a functional lamp for me. I'm going to use it. This is not a showpiece. I'm actually going to use this thing day in, day out, and as a bass player, I prefer to have the controls in the front. It's much easier to make adjustments during a gig, during a song. It's definitely necessary. So I'm going to put them in the front. I'll make sure I do it tasteful. I'm not gonna totally, bastardize the cabinet. It will look tasteful. It'll be very low profile. I'm not worried about knobs getting broken or anything like that. And that's how we're gonna do it. So I appreciate your opinions on that, and I know where you're coming from. I get it. So that's really a good thing. So that's where we are. So let me start working on this power section, and then we'll come back and show you where we are with that. Okay? We'll be back. From a progress perspective, we have our power cord connected, and we use the strain relief. We have our power switch, and we have our two fuses. One's a 3 amp, one's a half amp. This one's going to be the main power fuse. This one's going to be for the center tap of the high power section. So all this is done. Now it's just a question of installing that choke and starting to wire. So we're good. We're almost ready. The other thing I'm going to have to do is get this power lamp. This is a 120 volt lamp. This is going to be my power indicator that goes through the front, out the cabinet. So really the next step before I start wiring anything is to get the holes drilled in the front. And this is going to be the lamp that we use, so we know we have power on this thing. Okay? That's not going to indicate filament light. That's going to indicate power. So that's going to be the only difference between using that and a 6.3 volt lamp. So let's get the holes drilled and have some fun with this thing. Before I get the holes drilled, obviously I'll just show you what the other side looks like. I should have done that. Here's our power switch. There's two wires coming off of it. Here's our fuse holders. Nothing fancy. Here's our power cord coming in. Okay? Let's get drilling. Okay, I'm about to cut the holes in the front for the controls. And you'll see that I've mounted the power switch. There's the power cord. Here's the hole for an external speaker. And we've got our speaker mounted in there to make sure everything lines up. There's our 12AX7 tubes. Plenty of clearance here. Nothing near. There'll be plenty of clearance here with this tube. And our cap will be back here. So that's what it looks like. It's a heavy little sucker. But this cabinet's really strong. It's not going to be any problem. So I'm going to cut those holes. Let me flip it around and show you where they're going to be. And we'll get to it. Okay, here we are on the front. Our power light's going to be right here. This is going to be our master volume control right underneath this emblem. This is going to be treble. This is going to be bass. And then in this little hole here is going to be the input jack. And we're going to keep it very minimal. In the back is going to be the intensity and the speed pot. So we're going to drill out these 3 holes first, and it's going to go right through the case into the chassis. This way everything lines up perfectly. And then this hole has to be a little bit smaller because that lamp is just a smaller size. So let me get to it, and we'll look at the end product, and then we'll wrap up this particular episode. So let me get to it. Be back. Okay, our holes are all drilled. Now I made them small, only 1/4 inch, because I can always open them up. I just wanted to make sure I have everything lined up perfectly. So here's our pilot light. Here's our volume. Here's our treble. Here's our bass, and here's our input jack right in the center. So now we're going to open this case up and remove the chassis and see how things line up. Let's do that. Okay, there you have it. There's our power, volume, treble, bass, input. And again, I said I can make them a little bit bigger if I need to, which I will. But you can see inside where they line up really well. So our power is going to be right here. I'm sorry, our power is on this side in the power section. That's our volume, treble, bass, and input, and you can see that the 2 controls here line up perfectly with these tubes, which is where they need to be. Okay, sorry for the loose camera work here. I'm trying to do this by hand. So the next step for me is, which I'll do in the next video, is I'm going to create a cardboard template of those holes. And the reason why I'm going to do that is I'm going to wire from a ground perspective the 3 pots together. So I'm going to build a cardboard perspective, build everything outside of the chassis, and then just insert it inside. That's the easiest way to do this stuff. So build as much as you can outside the chassis, and you just put it in and connect it, and you're good to go. So that's going to do it for this episode. We're making some really good progress, and you know, you're coming along for the ride here. And if you have any questions, let me know. I know some of you believe it's a sacrilege to cut that cabinet open, but as I said now, I think 3 times in this video, I'm going to use this little sucker, so I want it to be practical. Alright guys, we will see you in the next episode. Take care. By the way, I just want to take a minute for all of you new subscribers that are commenting on this. I really appreciate your input and feedback. This is not an exact science, nor am I a professional at building these things. I really do appreciate all of your comments and giving me suggestions. It really does help. I don't take it any other way, is that we're all working together, right, to try to make something really cool. So thank you for your feedback. Keep it coming. I appreciate each and every one of you that take the time to watch the videos. All right? You guys have a wonderful night. Take care.